Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4, the final episode of the Euros edition of the 101 Show. Big welcome to Tom Millington and Darren Cheesman. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks. It's been a bit of a day in the Euro Championships, but yeah, all good, all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm been better. It was I can't hide my distraught at the result today. Was watching it with the other rehab girls, and we just couldn't. Yeah, it's been a hard day, but no excuse not to talk about hockey. So back here. How about you, Darren? How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. It's been good to see so much hockey on TV. So for the geeks like me, it's been quite cool. Even though it has been a bit of a heartbreak day for England, it's been quite cool to watch hockey again.
Yeah, it's a bit like the reverse, I guess, almost of 2019, where we saw England women, my team, top the group, and then the men going into the playoffs. So it's a bit of a role reversal, but yeah, it was a hard game today. That 1-1 draw against Belgium, but this is how it looks like at the moment. So we've got I think it's pretty certain that the Netherlands, I think they're on 9 goals now, are going to go through. 10-0. Okay. Yeah. So there you have the semi-finals, Spain, Germany, and Netherlands, Belgium. What do you make of it, Tom?
In general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the moment in the obviously the biggest surprise is probably England not being in top 2. I think that would be the expectation. I think in the men's leagues you've got the top 4 that are expected to be there. I don't think there are any surprises there. Didn't really see any of the other teams in the men's sort of what you would probably consider as the bottom 4, maybe overachieving a little bit. I think they probably all played roughly to their standard. So I don't want to dwell on it too much, but England's women obviously fell a little bit short today, which is really, it's tough to take, and it wasn't a big margin in the slightest. So it does to show how much the little things count over these sorts of tournaments as well. But it'll be interesting. Be interesting to see what happens in the semis with all of the teams actually. But I mean, Netherlands women at the moment look like they are pretty unstoppable. And that's a very brief and broad overview of it as well. But like I said, no surprises in the men's turnout. Like I said, the only surprise is the England-Belgium, unfortunately.
And Darren, what do you think of a Belgium-Netherlands semi-final? Do you think Belgium could come out and cause upset?
I think Belgium have come to this tournament and they've achieved what they want to get from it. They have their World Cup spot, so there's going to be a whole load of satisfaction there. They've hit their big high, and now they're playing against the Dutch in Holland with a huge crowd in the semi-final. And it's going to take a lot to calm them down and get them in a place where they're going to be able to perform. Especially when I think you look at sorry, I'm still watching the Dutch-Scotland game as we speak. Especially when you think about the Belgian journey over the last few years. So they failed to qualify for the Olympics on shootouts for Rio, and then they went to the European Cup in 2019 that you spoke about earlier, and they lost 1-0 to Spain in the last group game, which meant that they went into Group C. Which was a huge failure for them. And then after that, they didn't qualify for the Olympics again on shootouts. So the group had a big struggle mentally around how they can cross that line from being okay and good to being up there with the world's best. So I think today was a big one for them. And they did draw 1-1 with the Dutch in the first game of 2019 Euros. But since then, they've just been pounded and pounded by them. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. I think, the Dutch, they're just too professional, I think.
It's interesting you talk about their mentality because seeing them go 1-0 down to the Germans and then them being able to come back, and we'll just have a little look at the goal.
Behind them, so it's about getting the stretch on the game.
Oh, would you believe it?
And it's one of those goals with 5 minutes to go. You've just gone down, and it comes off it's a long corner setup for the goal. Like a high transfer almost. But how good is that finish, Darren?
She's incredible. She's genuinely one of the world's best strikers at the moment. She's in form. She's a proper hockey geek. Technically, whatever you ask her to do, she's able to do it. And more than anything, she just wants to be one of the world's best and winning medals with her country. So, yeah, that's not luck. This girl is an absolute machine on the training field and in her day-to-day life. So, yeah, goals like this are kind of expected from
Do you trained with her at under 21 level? Did you?
Yeah, so I coached her. I've never coached her in the team, but I've done a fair bit of one-to-one training with her. And yeah, I speak to her fairly regularly, just about mentality stuff and technique stuff. And but yeah, what you see here is just the result of all of her hard work. And you see this goal here. You see the 2 goals that she scored in the previous game. Sorry, in yesterday's game or day before yesterday,
against Italy.
Went against Italy. You look at the fact that today's goal in the last 2 minutes when they are 1-0 down and they need a win, they need a draw. She's the one that wins the corner by getting on the ball and just making sure that she hits a foot. So I think a lot of the good stuff went through her, and she's really one to watch in the future.
This is such a difficult shot for any goalie, isn't it, Tom? Just a scramble defense, really.
Yeah, I mean, the first shot comes in, the goalkeeper has to come and do something with it. And then because she's gone to ground, the hardest thing is to then recover to make a quick save. And when we actually do any work with the strikers in this sort of area of the pitch, that 6 to 9 yards in front of goal, it's not 99% of the time, it's not about a perfect shot. It's about getting a quick shot at goal. And you can see by this, it's just straight away working your feet, hitting a ball at goal. It doesn't need to be in the corner, but it needs to be quick because that goalkeeper's got to move. So as you're moving as a goalkeeper, you don't want that shot to come. You want to kind of be in a position where you're ready to sort of see and then make a save. So the quicker the shot, the better. And it's just, relying on your habits and instincts and getting your feet around the ball so you can actually get something at goal. That ball is just gone in the middle of the goal. It's not an absolute worldie of a shot, but it's gone past the keeper, and that's that's the objective, really. As long as you get it between the posts and past the goalie, that's all good. Doesn't matter where it goes. So speed of shot in those areas is key. It makes it so hard for goalkeepers. We want a bit more time.
I think one of the other points, sorry.
No, you're right. Go on.
I think one of the other points as well is so often when you run these shooting exercises for forwards, they just want to smash the ball top corner. And you have to keep reminding them, actually, if you play the ball into the floor, you've got a much bigger chance of scoring the goal. And when you look at the angle of her stick as she strikes this ball, you can see her main objective is just getting the ball towards the floor. Because then if it bounces off the floor, that's just as hard for a goalkeeper to save. But if she gets under the ball, that ball's probably going over the crossbar, and then, there's no goal today, or whenever it was.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like her split grip as well. That's exactly what you need to do so you can react quickly.
But generally, her body position is pretty low throughout, so it always gives you the opportunity to shoot at any moment, and then whatever you decide to do with your hands is easier.
Yeah, and I've been really interested by Belgium's their counter attack from their press. Darren, I imagine this is something that you've enjoyed watching as well but you can see their setup here in this zonal shape, pressure to the ball, offset, trying to force it one way. But what I really like here is the swarming from the Belgians. The help side across. unless she's again tackling.
And I think one of the key things here is you see, is it Abby Ray who ends up, so she's starting as a left forward. It's her stepping up into the center of the field, because you know that center forward's going to go across and pressure the help side center back, and then come back into the middle of the field. But it's the help side forward that goes up into the middle of the field. That means that whenever you win the ball, you always have a direct ball to center and to the middle of the field.
Now,
that's really hard to play against. Yeah, do you see her there on the top of it? That's so important, because here she's got the ball carrier has the space to run with it. But imagine she didn't, and she's under a bit more pressure. She has that direct ball because a defender is not thinking about stepping up and pressing her when they have the ball. So it's always an important outlet for them. And what you see as well is once that ball would go into centre forward, you see the players on the wings just making sure that they get ahead of the ball to be the next pass. So it's not about that centre forward receiving and turning. It's about them just getting the ball, playing to the players that are facing forwards, and then everyone else just getting ahead of the ball.
It's really interesting. Is the forward-facing carrier the options? What should Germany do in this situation from a defensive point of view?
If you look at it, they have numbers up. So Germany should not be worrying at all in this situation. You see, is it Selena Oz, who is centre back, just about to pick up the centre forward in the situation. The girl on the ball shouldn't be allowing that inside break. The moment that inside break happens, everything becomes chaos. If she stays in that jaw and she makes sure that she prevents that inside break, then the ball ends up going wide. The left back can go and put pressure on the right forward, and actually they're 3 against 5 in that situation, and they've got it under control. The moment you allow the inside break, then Belgium are back on the front foot, and Germany are in scramble defense, and it's just really well played from there.
Yeah, and some good defense right at the end.
It's really brave, like to get in that right in front of that goal when the ball's coming across. It's really brave. It's what you want from the defenders, but not always easy, and not always the case that people are going to be there so low.
Yeah, I think you bang on, Darren, with that initial. You got a 3v5, but they're running at pace in space, and if you can get pressure, enough sort of mobile pressure to the ball early, i.e. a line to goal, and not get drawn out of it, you deny those passing options pretty quickly. And so if you then force it wide, you're working in a smaller space, probably then with a 2v1 in your favour defensively, and you might be able to win it outside the circle. But it's a nightmare for goalkeepers to try and quickly ascertain like what's the first thing to do, and that would be the first thing. But in the moment, and with even despite a small crowd that they've got, are they going to hear you? So the bigger question is, what's your training habit? In that counter-attack situation, do they understand what the priority is and where we should be going? But you want to try and keep that ball wider if you can, and outside the D, and that would probably solve that problem more times than not.
And you just want to make that pass wide as obvious as possible. And it's horrible that the first goal gets an inside break. It's criminal that the second goal lets her continue that run to the other side. And for me, it's not just one error here. It's this first player putting the pressure. She needs to make sure the ball definitely goes wide. Okay, fine. She doesn't. You can see the left back already allowing that space, but this one here, you cannot then allow a second elimination, because then you can see Oroz center back. She's only focused on her man. She's doing her job. Left back's doing her job, and you just need your right back in the situation to realize that they're 1 versus 3 at the top of the circle. Just keep it there. Just don't let her eliminate again.
So you think being much more mobile here from the right back?
I think it's just an all or nothing, and it's difficult. When you look at the way momentum's going, she's running from the right side of the field into the middle, and then the elimination's happening from right to left. So it's difficult to be mobile in that situation, but you've just got to make sure that you're keeping the player's head down and putting enough pressure that the elimination isn't easy, and somebody else can then go up and mop up the spillage. you don't need to win the ball there. You just need to make sure that you're doing enough to get the next person making that tackle.
That's really interesting because I think the German goal that Belgium that they scored against Belgium actually comes off the back of a counter-attack. So it's fourth quarter scoreline pressure. Either both teams want to score, but you see you've got 5 players bombing up the pitch here, and it's from this turnover that leads to the German goal. And I wonder if it is because they have their forward line and essentially 2 of their midfielders as well committing to the attack. So it's like, what stage do you commit fully because you're completely out of shape? There's a huge hole, and then you create all of the space to attack in.
Yeah, but I think here, so this is a beautiful counter-attack goal from Germany. But when you look at the Belgian principles, they didn't adhere to any of those principles that they're looking to do. The only one they're trying to do right now is get ahead of the ball, but they're all in a straight line. Their basic principles are width, depth, and guard. So you need to have a guard behind the ball, and you need the height and you need the width, and you have those because you create the layers in attack, you create the options, you create the ability just to play free-flowing hockey. But if everyone just runs up the field in a straight line, all it takes is one tackle, as you see here, and you've just taken 5 players out of the game. And yeah, the other side is the counter defense. The other side, you see substitutions happening. Yeah. So another defender's running off the field. In behind is also shocking from Belgium, that it's not just the 5 players, it's also the fact that the girls behind are just not ready to deal with that situation.
And what do you have to do from a goalie perspective here, Tom? Is it just it's a 2 versus 1? Like, there's nothing you can do.
No, like it's funny because I did something recently on how you defend counterattacks from a goalkeeping perspective. So this kind of leads into this perfectly. So if you go back to the bit where the ball's about to be passed, yeah. So hold it here. Okay. So obviously this is big space, but there's pressure going to that ball. Now the obvious thing here is that as long as you've got you're aware in your periphery of the player coming in on the shoulder of the D, that pass could be on. You might, in the back of your mind, like prepare for it in your mind, but not necessarily with how you move, because you don't know whether the shot's going to come from the player with the ball now or whether it's going to be a pass. You've always got to expect the shot, but you can prepare in your mind for that pass to maybe come. So you then got to look at a bit of body language and play intelligently, and then maybe a little working out whether you need to be proactive or not. So if you roll it on a little bit, and like, don't get me wrong, this is a 2v1, but that pass comes in. Now, I would suggest that the keeper, if you go back a little bit, so the one thing for counterattacks and goalkeepers, you can see the goalkeeper here is working her way back. It's too late by now. She's still unsettled. You want to get back quicker so you can go forward earlier. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Her body weight's going back as that ball is being played.
Yeah. So we're too late here to get settled and in position. So we're a little bit lagging to come out to whatever we're trying to do here. In terms of execution here, yeah, it's not a bad effort with a cross goal sort of dive, but the difficult thing here is with the reverse stick, it then goes wider of the goal. So you roll it on. Yeah. You want to take another step. In that area, you're just looking to block the ball, not necessarily save it, if that makes sense. So it's not like you see and then move your glove, move your pads. You take another step in there, you're probably going to get it. You know, it's not a bad finish, but that's just it's almost looks like almost too nice a shape, if that makes sense. Yeah, you got to get a bit. So here you got so much work to run back. This is a great angle. So ball gets played across. It's still big space. Okay, roll it on a bit. And then it goes under that bit. And you see the rotation of the goalkeeper with that right hand that goes down. It's a nice little position, but everything about the play in that area is about being in the right space at the right time. You add value then with good technique. It's not the other way around. That makes sense? Yeah. You see some great saves that are really what you call ugly. Some people call this the ugly zone. And that's sometimes what it's all about. So don't get me wrong, this is not an easy save. It's a lot of big space. You're having to do an awful lot to actually make the save. I would, in an ideal world, if you had perfect hindsight and you do it again, that would probably be what I would do. I'd set up earlier, give myself a better chance to actually make a connection with the pass that's coming across. Either if it's a bit closer, maybe you could intercept it, but this was too far away. So it's just too late here. Pass comes across, we're just behind, and I think that even could just be the key. But it's a quick counter attack, pass, goal.
Yeah. I think
and you're speaking about those ugly saves earlier, not necessarily needing great technique. You saw Maddie's save on the counter attack earlier today, where she just literally laid in the middle of the circle and just like flapping around. But yeah, she got in the way. It was horrible technique, but in terms of being in the right place at the right time, it was exactly what she needed. And then it's just for the defense to clear up after that. So
yeah.
I think the counterattacks and how high forwards are finishing at the moment has been quite a key theme, and I know it's something that we'll probably expect to see from the Netherlands against Belgium in their semi-final, because this is their goal against Spain. This is actually just their second goal before, so they're starting to get momentum here in the second quarter. And I mean, how can you? I mean, actually, I've only done this once, and it was under 16 against Scotland, where you go from a breakaway to a counter-attack goal. But this running line, first of all, and then the speed of thought. I thought the counter was lost, to be honest, and then just falls very nicely.
Yeah, you'd expect the Spanish goal to trap that ball when it comes across the circle. But this is
how quick are they back there though? Like, you got to get the ball to start with. Someone's pegging it from the halfway line. Yeah, you see them running it. Sorry, Darren, I know I've interrupted you, but like you see them pegging it back from the halfway line, and you're like, okay, well, you're only going to get that one times in maybe 50, maybe 100, but look how much value it has.
Exactly, and for them, they defend as a team and they attack as a team. And when you look at the Dutch mentality maybe a few years ago, so before Rio, same in the men, it was all about how they play hockey and attack. But they realize now that in order to earn a right to play attacking hockey, you also have to earn a right defensively. And you see exactly that from what you're saying, Tom, that they just want to get back and stop that corner and the second phase. But equally, they then get the chance to do what they love, which is playing a small pass on counter attack. Everyone else get ahead of the ball, and then from then it's just find your friend and get people in front of the goal. And you see it, and it could have gone both sides. So here she plays to Stella on the right wing, but this ball could equally have come left, and they could find Matla from there. So yeah, it's similar in terms of the principles we were speaking about with Belgium, but they just do it with so much pace and quality. It's ridiculous.
Do you reckon that pass is she's seen the pass left, or she's only seen the pass right, or she purposely wants to go right?
Ava, no, she's seen it right. She's seen both sides. That's one of her biggest qualities is her awareness. So she's like a football midfielder. She's constantly scanning. So she knows for sure that there's options both sides. And I think the Dutch have the ability to score on the left side, but they have a preference of going down the right baseline. So they will go right as much as they can, not like a traditional German team, but they want to go down the right hand side. So especially when the ball comes inside, they want to get the ball back out wide. But yeah, it's just gorgeous.
One thing on the goalkeeping here, whilst I'm watching it, carry it on. So nothing really happens here apart from a little kick, and then what? I don't understand this.
Why she goes down?
Yeah, don't understand it.
She took a step towards the ball. Yeah,
you can be low and mobile and not have to go to ground. Stay on your feet, keep compact, and it just rules you out of making saves that you probably should be making. So yeah, frustrating just from look, that ball's not going. Where's it end up going in the goal?
Yeah,
about middle.
Yeah.
Oh, so you say that would hit the chest if you were.
Yeah. As much as you can in this modern game that we're playing now, or as modern as it is, seeing as today is today. The more mobile you are, the better. Can you be mobile and compact and cover as much of the goal as possible? Yeah, Of course you can. Like the whole point in things like groundwork, smothering, and you're covering the low part of the goal, but you can do that in different ways that still don't rule you out of being able to move again. So she could have saved that, I think.
And another goalkeeper who is, well, we can talk from goalkeeping to goalkeeping about Ollie Payne and his role in this England side's performance, especially against Spain with a 3-2 win. Because this is how the men's side looks at the moment. So we've got the semis: England, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, and yeah, I think I'm so impressed with the England men at the moment. They're pressing, their quality on the ball, their diligence. It's electric, really, to be honest. But let's have a look at some of Ollie's before we go on to the attack. Some of Ollie's saves. So this is a key moment in the game.
Well, haven't they? They have.
All right, there we go. 5. Get in the goal. 3, 2, 1.
Time has not wearied them. Out it comes. They've gone for the tip in somehow. That's pain.
So one thing I'm going to mention about Ollie is he's one of those goalkeepers that doesn't necessarily do a huge amount, or it doesn't visually necessarily do a huge amount. He's made a couple of saves that have ended up, in a little bit of a flamboyant way, but exactly, which is a phenomenal save, but it's born from the fact that you're trying to cover the middle of the goal first. Then you use your limbs, your extension, your power through your body just to reach. And there's less load to move and over move. So he's quite efficient with his movement, which means he sees the ball really well. So here, comes with the deflection, steadies himself, and it's not the biggest compliment you could pay to a goalkeeper. If I ever came off the pitch when I was a goalkeeper and someone said you made that look really easy, that's it. That's gold. That's what you want. You can make all the worldy saves you want, but you miss the ones down the middle. That's the wrong way around, in my opinion. It doesn't work at international level, especially when pressure comes. Because when pressure comes, you're 2-0 up. We've just seen from the games that have been played in the tournament, that could swing the other way pretty quickly. So pressure comes, 2-0 up. You do your job. You just squeeze as much as you can. They obviously know their routine really well. The amount of space that he's got to cover the right-hand side of the goal, how well the runner runs. There's space for that deflection, but nobody's phased by it, and he's just being quite calm and compact on that rebound save. So a lot of what Ollie does is quite calm and collected. You won't see much fuss, which helps him a lot.
See, are we running two runners here to the top to cover?
To stop Kamada. Yeah,
interesting. Do you think that's a call that Spanish have seen, that it's open?
I think regardless of whether, and Tom, you call more PCD than I do, but I think regardless of whether England played 2 number 1 runners or they played their normal 3-1, I think that call still might have been called. But especially if they're going to run 2 at the top to put pressure on Kamada, that space, you see it here, how much time and room he has just to get a deflection there. The Spanish would be pretty annoyed that they didn't score this.
Yeah, I mean the deflection does go pretty middle of the goal, so it's I think the spaces at which that there is between that deflection and the goal gives Ollie a little bit more time. I think if it's a little closer to the goal, then but look how much of the goal is being covered anyway. You've got the postie doing a pretty good job there, kind of getting in the way a little bit, but I think the deflection isn't as quick as they wanted it to either. It probably wasn't those sweet ones. It probably just killed the ball a little bit, which gave Ollie a little bit of time on his right hand. But if you run it from the top, you could probably get a straight drag flick off. But they're running a routine. There's probably space to do that. So it's a good, nice, calm, collected save from Ollie. Yeah, you can panic in those situations and think, oh, this is an open deflection. you see a goal going in before it goes in your head. But he doesn't think like that. So it's all pretty simple.
And this is the one you were talking about, Darren. This is
a great save.
It's incredible.
Okay. So interesting. So he's obviously offsetting, which many keepers do at the moment. So the first thing that goes out is what you see is that extension with the hand. Okay, so he's set up here. You cover much of the goal with just an extension, right? And he's then pushing off his right foot to try to get a little bit more momentum up on that left hand. But really, it's about extending your hand to roll it on. And then, whatever happens after. But unless you can get a full extension, that doesn't happen. All right, it's loading up. Yeah. So
why does he offset originally to those of us who aren't goalies?
You rely on your one runner and your postie to cover the left-hand side of the goal. So your job is to cover more of the right of the goal and put less pressure on yourself to have to do things like dive to the corners or cover too much of the goal. That's a relatively tactical decision, which most goalkeepers are playing, especially in the men's game at the moment. It's not unusual. Sometimes it is quite an aggressive step. Ollie's quite far over here, but the goal's been covered well by a pretty good postie as well. We've seen Salisbury make quite a few saves off the line. He missed one. Yeah, but he's got his cricket bat out, especially for the championship, so that's good. It's a really calm, collected save by Ollie, and you could. I think the thing that plays in your mind sometimes as a goalkeeper is your job is to cover the right hand side of the goal. It's not. You make the saves that you need to make in all of the goal, but you can get swayed a little bit. In your head, you think, okay, well, I'm just going to cover right, so I might just get a jump on it, and that can play in your mind, especially when it comes to the pressure moments. Whereas here, it's just see ball, play ball.
I was really surprised. I was really surprised he chose to offset against Spain because of the way that Kamada flicks. On a trip, if you're playing against Mink van der Veerde or you're playing against any of the other boys that flick, who pick it up on the shaft and they flick, then you can. Yeah, then for sure, number one runner takes the left-hand side of the goal, and you can pretty much predict where the ball's going to go. But because Kamada brings the ball in, you see that actually the goal that they scored after this one was because he drags it in and past number one runner to then open up the right-hand side of the goal. And following Ollie's incredible save here, I think, it's asking a lot for him to make that save over and over again. If you leave that much of the goal available. Yeah, that's from my point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the tactical decision is, whether they think that or not, or whether they are actually relying quite heavily on Salisbury to do a good job as well. But we will never know unless we ask Mr. Carey.
I've also just been loving the goals from the men's team at the moment. But I mean, so that game against Spain, there's the man himself, Wardy, with 3 drag flicks. But I mean, you can talk about the drag flicks, fantastic. But I love watching how the corners are scored, because I just think at the moment with the men's flicking and getting there in the women's game as well, it's so nice to see good corner routines. And so if teams can win corners, then it's such a important part of the game. So this is the first corner that is won by England here. It's
what I love is the way they celebrate. Like, if you watch, this is Griff coming up here. Griff comes and puts pressure on. Look at how he celebrates when he wins this corner.
Yeah, I love that.
It's pumped.
Like, they know it's a goal. Like, they're like, this is a big chance for us. And when you have that mentality, any corner routine that you go into is going to just have just a couple of more percentage worth of becoming a goal. Yeah, they're really celebrating. It's incredible.
It's cool to see. We talk about that quite a lot in our team as well. And it also puts the PCD of the other team under pressure if you are really celebrating. But I'd love you to talk us through this defensive this press here, Darren, because I remember under 15 or under 16 Saxon Tigers, you said if you win the ball, then you can go and attack. and something just was like light bulb moment. That's what you said didn't you? You said that's what made you realize defending was beautiful.
Yeah, like if you have to wait for people to pass you the ball, then you're going to be waiting for a long time. But if you can go and win it yourself, yeah, you can attack as much as you want. And I think this is a good example of England running a double blind. So you see the blind coming up, the wing press coming up here on the right centre back, and instantly you see Griff making those steps forward to go and blind the other centre back. And even though he hesitates a little bit, the momentum is going forwards. The defender is stepping backwards, and it's really hard to play a forward pass when you're having to run backwards to receive a ball. So yeah, the aggression in just stepping forwards is really what helps Griff get an opportunity to win this ball here. And you see he's low and he's ready. He's really there to win it. He's not just throwing a stick. You can see he's low, he's ready, he's stable, he's balanced. This is just quality defending.
Yeah, it's so nice to see from the forward.
Maybe a generous corner, but the but the defending part of it was really good.
Then this is the
Sam's on fire. Yeah.
Yeah, those 3 goals. Is that pretty difficult to defend, Tom?
Well, from a keeper's point of view, like it's a good flick. Yeah, it's in the corner. What Sam does quite well is flick relatively quickly, and what I mean by that is that it's not a really long drag. Like he's on the ball really quick. Yeah, they're running a 3-1. Yeah, I think the one runner slows up too quickly. I think he could probably continue his run a bit, but the goalkeeper, yeah, fine, makes an attempt low. So Cortez here, that's what he does. He'll try to get a glove down into that space. Looks like he gets a touch. It's just maybe a bit too tucked in, and arguably you'd want to get your foot on that instead. And that's what happens when you try it. It goes under your elbow a little bit. It's not the best stop in the world, but gets it picked up. It's just in that space. If the ball's a little wider, I reckon that's a save. Yeah, it's an easier in your arc as a save, but because it's like a foot and a half inside the post, Cortez has to tuck up, and yeah, it's not quite as easy.
I found it interesting that they didn't run any deflectors in, because in my team we're always like go in as if you're going to deflect every time to try and distract the posties and the bits and pieces. But do you think they're just so confident here?
No, they're just ready. I think that's a really good point, but you can just see here that they're solely confident of that ball being on target. If it's on target, it's either in the goal or you'll be able to play a rebound. And then the big question is who's going to get there first. So you got to be ready to get in front of the ball, in front of the players, so you can pick that up facing goal, not the other way around. So as soon as you get into the deflection mode, you're facing away from goal. So it's pretty purposeful by the looks of things that they're just like, yeah, we'll pick up the pieces because we know Sam's going to put it on target.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I think the last video from the England men, I'm just really quite obsessed with high transfer build-up play at the moment and how to be effective at it. And you see how deep Brendan is here, but with quality of the ball pace, especially on this pitch at the moment, and then being able to have right and left halves who can eliminate both sides. I think you see that a lot in the Dutch women as well. But just the movement here for me, it's just, and then having a left half who can overlap or a right half who can overlap and create options.
But
Darren?
that is really the thing that I've been most impressed about from England. That every time they pass forwards from a side back, from a left or right back, they just get over the ball. And whether it's Dixie or it's Zach dropping deep and being in that low position to begin with, they're constantly getting over that ball. And it's a nightmare to deal with, especially when everyone's trying to play zonal hockey. If you're right forward and your left back just bombs up the field ahead and creates the overload, it's really tough because you're in that dilemma of do you stay in your zone or do you break it and go to a more man-to-man system? If you break it and follow your player, then the whole zone is broken and they can just start playing through you. So it's, I love the way that England are just using that as a tactic now, and they're just playing to their strengths. I love it.
I mean, I just videoed this for own personal pleasure, really, because they're in this deep zone here, and you think, okay, Spain have got Belgium. Sorry, this is the Belgium game. Belgium have got a really strong zonal press. They've got so many numbers, and they're able to play through the overlap, like you said. And then just being able to, it doesn't quite come off, but
poor choice of pass, but the principle is there, and you can see the spaces there as well.
Yeah, and what I like right at the beginning, you can see Zach is in the middle of the field, and he knows you need to get numbers over to help. So then he ends up coming all the way back, and there's just so much fluidity. And I would like to see that more. And I think this is probably why they are looking so sharp going into the semi-finals tomorrow.
I think it's great. I think if Zach rolled that ball down the line, that becomes an incredible counter-attack. And instead he goes for the glory pass, but do you know what? The kid can do whatever he wants right now, so I don't care.
Yeah, they can. They definitely can. I think what's that? I reckon we'll pause the show there. This is a reminder of the men's semi-finals tomorrow: England, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium. They're actually in the afternoon, evening. Darren, your players to watch, please. One in the women's, one in the men's.
I think in the women, Stella Van Geels. This is her first major tournament. She's come up from the Potentials group, which the Dutch have, which is full of the better club players that are not internationals. She's done incredible. Look out for her. And in the men, I think, Zach is just dominating at the moment. And I just hope he can really keep up that performance into the Olympics. Yeah,
definitely. And Tom, for you?
It's a good question, and Darren knows the players far better than I do. I think on the men's side, I'm keeping my eye on Ollie a lot and how he's playing at the moment, because, like I said, he can be flamboyant when he needs to be, but he's been pretty hard to beat at the moment. And also, I can see Sam Ward scoring more goals pretty easily and pretty quickly, and you can actually put quite a few names on that England team at the moment to keep an eye on, because I think they're beginning to be really threatening. You've got Sam on 3 goals, Ansel on 2 at the moment. I think collectively there's a few goals in there. Women's wise, I think the one thing I'm more interested in rather than players to watch is what all the Belgians do with their goalkeepers. Whether they're going to stick to quarters or whether they're going to pick one to play for the whole game.
It's an interesting one, especially considering they dropped Ashton Ho for this tournament. So they've gone with Elena and Elodie. And they keep going quarters. England tried that before. I'm not sure anyone really enjoyed it.
I think when you've got the Pro League, and when that happens easily, I think when you go into tournament time and there's a question mark and you're not quite sure, fine, then you got to play it like that and see what happens. But at the other side of it, you might be thinking, well, actually, you're better off picking one, filling the boots of confidence and keeping it relatively simple, and numbers on the bench as well. So
also especially because if this was England or Holland that were doing this, I'd be saying, okay, maybe they were trying something for the Olympics. This is Belgium's tournament. They've got nothing else to play for this year. So it's a really strange one for me. Yeah.
What are we doing predictions as well for scores for the semi-finals?
Go on, predictions. Let's have
Darren,
thanks, Tom. Are we doing predictions? Okay, Darren, you go.
I asked the question. You got to answer.
Go on, men's first. England, Germany.
Sorry, who?
England, Germany.
England, Germany. I think it'll be a tight one.
Where's loyalty lie?
Yeah, I like I said, I really enjoy how England are playing at the moment. But when I look at the professionalism of the German teams and how they've come back twice already this tournament, and when you look at historically, whenever we played them, they always started terribly in the tournament, but once it came to knockouts, they were always there. And I just think
need to score, Darren.
I think the Germans might hit them.
Just need to score, mate.
3-2 Germany. 3-2 Germany.
Okay. Tom on that game?
I'm going 3-2 England, mainly because this is probably the most, and I know they've come back, but it also shows me that they're defensively fragile more often than they have been in the past, I think. So yeah, again, I think it is going to be tight. And yeah, 3-2 in the other way to England.
I hope I'm wrong.
Really? Say that now.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
well, thank you so much, Tom and Darren, for joining me for Sport 101's Euros edition to give everybody some chance to really get some analysis of the game. So I really, really appreciate your time. And look out for more hockey analysis in the future. And look out for these two, my friends. Thanks so much.
Friends.
Bye.